I was very sad to see that because those guys are, yeah, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough.
Let's take a look at this. Young Elon, shout out to Elon. Shout out to Elon. If you own Tesla stock, then you know it's up. Shout out to Elon.
Take us back to when you really started all of this.
Well, that was the summer of '95. I had no money whatsoever. I was working, doing research in Silicon Valley on a completely different subject and trying to start this company at the same time. And when it came time to decide, do I want to do graduate studies or do I want to start this company? And I decided to start the company. I had no money. As a graduate student, I would have received a scholarship and a stipend and so forth. In starting the company, I had nothing. I had no income source. So
you got to be willing to bet on yourself. And this conversation, I'm not going to allow it to go to us saying, well, Elon has this privilege to where he could do something like this because he's white and because he's this and because he's that, or he comes from this background, so therefore he could take that risk. You may be absolutely right, but that's not where we're going with this conversation. That's not my takeaway from it. If you choose to have that takeaway, matter of fact, that's for you. My takeaway is I'm sitting here. How many people would have made that type of decision to where you have the opportunity to go to grad school, get a stipend, get a scholarship, have things paid for, but instead you decide to go off on your own and bet on yourself and start a business with no money?
We found that an office was actually cheaper than an apartment in Silicon Valley. So we got this dinky little office that had a leaky roof. It was just the nastiest place you can imagine.
And you lived in it too?
And I lived in it too and showered at the YMCA. This lasted for about 3 or 4 months.
Who's willing to do it? This is why I bet on Elon. This is why maybe 6, 7 months ago, we decided, and to say, you know what, I had stocks. I had a diverse portfolio. But I sat here and said, and I always was the type of person that like this was my stock strategy. I remember the first stock that I put a good amount of money in was Carvana. And I looked up who the owner and CEO was. And I'm like, yo, this dude seems like the guy that's going to just keep working. Yeah, it may suffer some problems, but this leader does not seem like the type of leader that's going to give up. They're going to keep going until they win. So that was always on me. I wanted to know who owned the company. What was it? Because in my opinion, the owner attitude reflects leadership, right? What movie is that from? Attitude reflects leadership, right? Captain. So for me, it was important to know who the owner of the company was because I wanted to understand the culture of the company. And 6, 7 months ago, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, who would I bet on? Like if I was just looking at it from a person standpoint, who would I bet on? And I said, yo, why do I have these? I'm just putting all this in Tesla. Let's put everything in Tesla and see what happens. Let's roll the dice. I'm willing to roll the dice on Elon. I look at it like that. Like who would I respect as a competitor that I know is not going to give up if we're going at it, if we're going at each other? If somebody I know they're willing to give up, and then nah. Elon is a dog. He's a dog. And that's who we bet on. That's who I'm attracted to in sports. That's who I'm attracted to in life. And that's who I'm attracted to when it comes to business. And when I say dog, for those that know, y'all know when you see a guy on the field, when you see a guy in that boxing ring, there's a difference. There's a difference. I'm willing to go through things that you're not willing to go through. I'm willing to sacrifice more than you're willing to sacrifice in order to accomplish something greater. I'm willing to lose and keep getting up and keep competing no matter what anybody else says because I'm ultimately going to win. I'm going to get the big win at the end of the day, no matter how many losses I face along the journey. That's Elon energy to me. Maybe it's a little bit different for y'all. Maybe you'll sit here and say, well, Elon had this, Elon. Yeah, take away from it whatever you need to take away from it.
And the reason we chose this office, in addition to it being really cheap, was that there was an internet service provider on the floor on the floor below. So we were able to get really cheap internet access by drilling a hole in the floor and connecting to their server directly.
You know, this industry is so young, and we don't really know where it's going. But what do you see as the future of the internet?
I think the internet is the superset of all media. It is the it is the be all and end all of media. One will see print, broadcast, arguably radio, essentially all media folding into the internet. And what the internet amounts to is it's the first two-way communication medium that is intelligent. It allows consumers to choose what they want to see, when they want to see it, and whether that be radio, whether that be print, whether that be television, broadcast. I think it's going to revolutionize all traditional media.
There's something to say about somebody that sets out on a mission, and then you see him 30 years later, just like who said that? Levi, 30 years later, the hair's gray hair 30 years later. To me, there's something to be said about somebody that sets out to do something, and 30 years later, you actually see the results, and that they are just as inspired 30 years later to continue to keep pushing that they were 30 years ago. It's hard to keep up that same energy. It's hard to continue betting on yourself, to continue not taking the safe bet, to continue not taking the safe route, the road that is most traveled, and continue to take the least traveled, and continue to bet on yourself and continue. There's another video that this is who let me actually see if I can find that Elon video. Have y'all ever seen the Elon video where he's getting interviewed and the person is asking him about all the people, like all of his idols that have said bad things about him? Hold on. Elon Musk, Buzz Aldrin, criticism. Just to, I wasn't going to show this, but I want y'all to see this. I want y'all to see this. This is another reason why I bet on him. This is another reason why I bet on him. Hold on. All right, let me share the screen. Hold on.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
So they're hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone. And I would hope for as much support in that direction as we can receive.
That's why I like my guy, man. That's why I like my guy. Did you see my man tearing up? Like, that's the passion, that's the purpose. You could really tell bro really cares. Like, you may disagree with him going into space, may disagree with him on Mars, may disagree with him and Vivek being, a part of Doge. You may disagree with him on a lot, but there's something to be said about somebody that is so passionate about the project that they're working on to where they're crying because they're heroes that motivated and inspired them to want to go after the things that he's going after are criticizing him. Like, that's when I see stuff like that, like, And then I look at it from a standpoint, either that's going to break you. Like, how is somebody going to respond to that? I promise y'all I got goosebumps. Can you see the goosebumps? That gives me goosebumps. That gives me goosebumps, because the same people that inspired you now are criticizing you. Now what do? He said, I wish they would come out here and visit. Didn't bash them, didn't anything. But what is that going to do? Is that going to have you go after it even more? Are you going to let up a little bit and take your foot off the gas? Or are you going to push back down? We already know what Elon his decision is. That's why I like this man. That's why I appreciate him. Forget I appreciate him. Levi wrote, I think Elon is legit. I have friends who disagree. And yeah, that's the thing. It's a very similar. I'm very similar that way. Very similar that way. Let me get to this last video. We had two more. We're actually going to play a video of. All right. Do y'all want to go Vivica Fox, talking about Vivica Fox and how she's not settling at 60 when she's dating? Or do you want to talk about Method Man? It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.